It sunk through the clouds, entwined our bodies in the words from our mouths. These forest dreams are blinding me. I heard my voice bend and built up like smoke, swirled in like thick currents all around my throat. These forest dreams are lightning wrapped around me. These forest dreams are lightning wrapped around me. It seems so right here, and I guess I've always known that intoxicating bullets running through my bones. I'm miles and miles away, and it feels like coming home. These forest dreams are lightning wrapped around me. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna and Mike. Can we get another round of applause? Rose Tooth. Thank you for so beautifully opening our event today. That was wonderful. And thank you, Lauren, for the connection. Good morning, everyone. Good Creative Mornings. I'm Tina Roth-Eisenberg. I'm the founder of Creative Mornings and your New York City chapter host. I am welcoming you today from the ancestral land of the Lenape people. We here at Creative Mornings want to recognize the significance of this land of Brooklyn and New York City for the Lenape people, past and present. I want to welcome everyone on the live stream, who I hope is cozy in bed, but I am pretty sure your pastries weren't as fancy as ours today. And I want to say a big warm welcome for Autumn Thomas, who is interpreting our morning today, and I want to thank Snezana, who originally introduced us to Autumn. We appreciate you both so very much. Thank you. What an absolute delight to be back here at CUNY. I want to thank Anke, who made this possible, and Marielle, and I want to thank Chad and Robin, the AV people. Because of you, I sleep really well when I know that you're going to be here, so thank you. Who here is new to the CUNY Graduate Center? A lot of you. So the Graduate Center is a hub for public graduate education, non-degree programs, and public events. Do we have a CUNY student in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, a few of you, that's cool. Co-host the Office of Academic Initiatives and Strategic Innovation. Much easier to say is AISI for short. They offer many non-degree programs and public events, and one of them I want to highlight. It was pretty darn cool. It's the Writers Institute. The institute is led by novelist Andre Aciman, who wrote Call Me By Your Name, and it's a non-credit certificate program that meets online for 12 weeks. And what makes it unique is that you don't, it's not the emerging writers that you work with, the acclaimed authors, but it's with the editors who shape them, which is pretty cool. So we'll send the link in the follow-up email that you'll receive about the Writers Institute. And thank you, CUNY, thank you, AISI. Are you glad we welcome you with coffee when you arrive? Actually, one day I want to do this. Like, I want to just like hold it up when you walk in. I am so grateful that we have coffee at these events. And it's possible because we have a local partner, Harvest, who helps us cover the cost. So Harvest is just like us, a New York City-based company that they make me think about time, because time is one of their core features and of their time tracking software. And as a lover of quotes, I'm always looking for quotes. I think of them when I find one that is time-related, like this one by Twyla Tharp. All creativity requires some form of time. Time to reflect, time to wonder, time to imagine. So if you think about time in your day-to-day, if you need a simple and beautiful way to track and manage your time, expenses and invoices, check out getharvest.com. It's an excellent tool for independent creatives and small businesses, and they're wonderful people. So thank you, Harvest. All right, every month we read the manifesto to remind us why we do what we do here at Creative Mornings and remind us of our values. And I always look through our guest list to sort of see who should I invite in. It's always someone out of the audience. And I noticed that our Savannah host, Luke, was on the list. Like, he just thought he could silently just slide in and I wouldn't notice, but no, I did. I remember a little over a year ago when Luke applied to bring Creative Mornings to Savannah, and he has done a remarkable job. Like, it's one thing to run a chapter that has already been up and running, but starting one is a real heavy lift. And he did that also with a little girl, his girl Eden, and he oftentimes see him hosting with her on his arms, which is just so adorable. So let's give a warm round of applause for Luke from Savannah. I was going to read the manifesto.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Tina, and the rest of the Creative Mornings team for not only what you guys do here, but what you help do around the world. Creative Mornings is a home, not just for me, but for a lot of creatives, and homes are built on foundations. Foundations need good principles. Principles, like in this manifesto. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, to celebrate you, and encourage you to make things that you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. If you haven't gotten either one of those, come see me after, I'll give you both. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another, inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is creative. Thank you.
All right, Abby, do you want to come up and tell us who is going to pitch the audience? Like, who of you was brave and put your name into the pitch wheel? So many of you. It really takes courage. I applaud you. So, Abby, who's it going to be?
Okay, so if I call your name, make your way up to the stage after Q&A. First one, Sarah Young, Sarah Goon, Morgan First, and Jill Greenbaum, something. Can't read your handwriting.
And remember, 30 seconds. Abby's gonna come closer and closer to you if you go over, and then she's gonna have the xylophone. And when the xylophone goes up, that's it. All right. Did you know that each of one of these dots represents a Creative Mornings chapter around the world? We have over 1,000 volunteers that make it possible that over 20,000 people get together every month like this for free in 70 countries. Like, for example, Valencia, right here, or in Bengaluru. Creative Mornings is a community-led global labor of love, a friendship engine, and some call us Church for Creativity. Our events wouldn't be possible without the generosity of everyone involved, from our volunteers to the venue hosts, to the AV folks, to the speakers, to the sponsors, and then all of you showing up. Creative Mornings shines because it's based on non-transactional giving. Creative Mornings is an invitation to a world where kindness and optimism are not considered naive, but tools for transformation. Creative Mornings is an invitation to a world where creativity is seen as a birthright, where we wrap you in a blanket of love and your nervous system can relax a little bit. Creative Mornings is an invitation into a loving community, a celebration of creativity and curiosity, a celebration of each other's humanity. And Adobe and the Harnish Foundation are the two organizations that recognize the impact Creative Mornings is having on the global ecosystem of creativity. They support us in a massive way. And Adobe and the Harnish Foundation are part of the reason that you're sitting here, possibly next to someone you might have never met otherwise. They are making this experience possible for you. Can we give them a round of applause? At Creative Mornings, we believe that community is what happens when you do what you love together, as Pete Davis so beautifully said in April of 2024 at a talk that he gave. And that's why we started clubs in spring of 2024. Clubs are small, intimate meetups started by community members like you for each other. They have a heartbeat, they have a cadence, they are hyper-local, they're in your neighborhood, they're shaped around a shared interest. And because they happen all days of the week and all times of the day, you are no longer bound just to make friends on a Friday morning once a month, like this one. Do we have any club hosts in the audience? I think I saw some. You are the legends, the true legends. Some of you have been running for over a year. Thank you so much. So in case you're new to clubs and you're wondering, well, what is she talking about? So these are the kind of things you could be doing if you wanted to. There's, for example, Melodies and Musings hosted by Brian on October 1st. There's Love Letter Lunch on September 29th, hosted by Barbara. There's Lyra is hosting a collective reading club for book lovers. And Pam hosted a knitting club yesterday. Oops, too late, you missed it, but there's more. That's the beauty of a club. They keep coming back. So do me a favor, go look up the upcoming clubs, attend some, make friends, and then the most important part, ask yourself, what do you love doing? And what would you love to create your own little community around? Because here's how it works. You apply to host a club, and we will fill the room with really friendly, curious people. And the next thing you know, a few sessions in, you have your little mini community. This is what we hear from club hosts over and over. And don't overthink it. Nothing is too small or silly. If it lights you up, it could be a club. And if you want to run the idea by me or someone else on my team because you're just not sure, just come up to us and we'll gladly walk you through the process. And then while we're on the topic of how you can make new connections in our universe, do we have any avid field trip goers in this audience? I see some arms, yeah. Some of you might go like, what is she talking about now? Well, Field Trips is our virtual peer-to-peer university. Every month we host about 20 plus field trips. They're free because we believe that learning with and from one another is how we build a more connected, sustainable world. So for example, on October 2nd, you can learn with Alexandra about personal brand building for the reluctant. This is part of our Level Up series that we do in partnership with Adobe. On October 14th, you can join a session with Justine Clay titled The Freelancer Survival Guide. Much needed these days. And then on September 29th, Fi will teach you about a nervous system-informed approach to tech trust. All right, our field trips are where learning meets connection. They are our personal antidote to boring webinars, so I promise you they're fun. So give it a try. All right, and now we're gonna play a little game. It's called Stand Up If. I'm going to project statements to the screen, and if they apply to you, please stand up if you can. If you can't, just raise your arm. All right. Stand up if you're kind of impressed with yourself for socializing early on a Friday morning. I am too. But those of you sitting, you're my people too. Like, stand up if this is your first Creative Mornings event. I'll give you a hug, seriously. Come up to me afterwards. I would love to give you a hug. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Stand up if plants blossom under your care. Stand up if you could use help with plant care. So now you people, please find each other. Or even better, the ones that stood up first, one of you should start a club. Stand up if you have a hobby that soothes your heart and helps you stay optimistic. We all need one of those. Okay, now I want to hear what they are. Anyone? Dancing? Trampoline? Okay, everybody's stopping after that. Like, trampoline wins. Should I say that would be a great club? Stand up if you're currently learning a new skill. Ooh, so many of you. Meredith, what are you learning? Knitting. Okay, anyone else want to share what you're learning? Volleyball, that's cool. Hungarian. And we'll stop. You win. Stand up if you're open to making new friends. Just look at each other. Just talk to each other, everybody. Oh, this is great. Okay. Now to the main attraction of our event. Our theme in the global universe of Creative Mornings this month is Blossom. It was chosen by our Pereira chapter in Colombia and illustrated by Edwin Morales and is presented by Adobe. And I need to email Edwin after this event because this is hands down my favorite illustration that we've ever had for a theme. Isn't that so cool? And now we're at the main attraction of our event. I am so delighted to introduce today's speaker, Lauren Home. She just recently moved back to Detroit because I have a secret list of people I would love to have speak here, but we kind of have to rule that we only ask people who live here. And then guess what? She announced on Instagram that she just moved back, and I'm like, there we go! And she's here! Lauren is a designer, lettering artist, muralist, and chef, an artist with a business brain who turned a college hobby into a thriving career, creative career. She's known for her bright color palettes, playful letterforms, and witty copy, very Blossom theme. Beyond her client work, Lauren shares her knowledge generously through courses, workshops, and passion projects that inspire thousands. Most recently, she attended culinary school, exploring the intersection of food and design, and now brings together lettering, mural, teaching, and the joy of cooking. I love her motto. Her motto is work hard, snack often, which says it all. So please give a rock star round of applause for Lauren Home.
Hello. Thank you for the warm welcome, Tina. Okay, all right. This is my first speaking engagement ever since I moved back to New York, so thank you for having me. Also, I didn't stand up because I was on my laptop panic preparing. It's part of my process, just let me have it. But this is my first Creative Mornings. I've always wanted to attend because I've heard so many wonderful things. I am just a night owl, and so I'm usually in my second REM cycle by now. So thank you for having me. Tina mentioned on our briefing call that this would be a great safe community to share new stories and get vulnerable, and so of course immediately I went and watched 10 different talks to see what everyone else did, just to see. And I think that's what we normally do when we're nervous about something. We look to other people to see what the norm is and to see what everyone else is doing, because we're human, we're social creatures, and that's just what we do. There is my title slide. So I actually got my start here in New York City. I went to the School of Visual Arts. Do we have any SVA people? Whee! I was an advertising major, and gosh, it was such a long time ago. I lived here from 2009 to 2015. And some of you might know me best from my earlier projects. This was Daily Dishonesty. Was that anyone on Tumblr in 2012? This was a collection of little white lies that I hand-lettered in my college dorm, and it caught a good wave of internet and ended up turning into a book deal for me when I was still in college, partly thanks to Tina. I remember being in my college computer lab, and my friend Jen turned to me and she goes, "Holy shit, Swiss Miss just reblogged your project," and it was because of design blogs like Tina's that my work circulated around the internet, and I was able to start getting client work and building the business that I have now. I was just hand lettering on the side for fun, like many people's stories, and this turned into my full-time job. So thank you, Tina. You might also know me for this project. Very lovingly ripped by Urban Outfitters in 2014, I think. This was a project that was inspired, you understand what this was inspired by. It's pretty, pretty cut and dry. I look back at work like this and I'm like, oh, of course, only 22-year-old me could have made this. I look back at it lovingly. You might also know me from my Will Letter for Lunch project, if anyone got into chalkboard lettering in 2013. I wanted to break into chalkboard lettering, so I printed out these flyers and walked around my neighborhood in Crown Heights and went to local businesses. I was terrified to pitch myself. To this day, I still hate pitching, so kudos to anyone who signed up for that 30-second pitch, because I don't think I could get anything done in 30 seconds. I would go up to them and say, "Hi, my name's Lauren. I'm a lettering artist in the neighborhood. Can I do your A-frame sign in exchange for whatever I write on the sign?" That's all I was asking. I figured I wasn't good at chalk lettering yet, so maybe they would just pay me in food, and that was how I built my chalk lettering portfolio. It was kind of a gimmicky thing that I did when I was 23, and I would only do one per week, though, as to not get fully taken advantage of. It was kind of like my version of giving a free sample as a designer, and it took off online, and people started circulating my name around the restaurant industry, and I'm actually thinking about getting back into that now that I've moved back to New York and gone to culinary school. I think that might be a good way to meet other people in the restaurant industry. You might also know me from Flower Crowns, this fun series I did making flower crowns out of cookies and cakes. I look back fondly on these projects that I did when I was much younger. They're just so silly and effervescent. You also might know me from Teen Cuisine, which is a phallic food blog that I ran for a season. Pretty self-explanatory. But I just wanted to run through just a brief overview of the first half of my career projects to give you a sense of who you're dealing with. Just to wake you up a little in the morning. So when Tina told me the theme for this month's Creative Mornings, I was reflecting on what it meant to blossom, and obviously I just moved back to New York after 9 years of being away, and it just made me reflect on the era of my career that I was here. Those projects that I showed you were the seeds that I planted that allowed the career that I have now to blossom. A lot of those projects turned into client work, which turned into awards, which turned into a portfolio, which turned into more client work, and so on. It led me to speak at events like these and conferences, and it led me to teach workshops and online classes, and it led me to build the business that I have today, and it's the reason that I'm standing in front of you. And it was also the reason why I was able to go independent and quit my full-time job. At the end of 2015, I packed up and left. I went to go travel, and then I met a partner, and we, like many New York couples, I know this is not an uncommon story. A lot of the stories I'm about to share are not uncommon. We met, and we decided we were going to move somewhere other than New York to save money. I'm sure everyone knows people who have done that. And so we packed up as two freelancers and moved to Detroit, and that's where I've been living, or I was living, for the last, 9-ish years. And even after all of this, like building up of my career and success, and it's what I lovingly refer to as the How to Become Jessica Hish checklist. It was get the client work, it was speak at the design conferences, it was win the awards. There was a very cut and dry path to being a successful designer. I still found myself a couple years ago on my couch at 2 a.m. because night owl, Googling, why does art matter? I was in like a weird little depressive funk. I don't know if it was because I had been doing what I had been doing for 7 years at that point. Some of you might be familiar with like the 7-year itch that entrepreneurs get, where you're kind of tired of the day in, day out of running a business because you're creative at heart, and so there's this tension between like, want to create new things, but like need to run the business. It might have been because we were like a year and change into lockdown, remember that? Not so fun. And I just found myself feeling really disconnected from the work I was doing, and those joyful projects that I showed you a couple minutes ago just felt so far out of reach, even though I had only created them like 5 or 6 years prior to that. And a story that I haven't shared before too, that was simultaneously happening in my life, is my partner and I were also going through a bit of a rut in our personal lives too. And I know this is also not uncommon for couples in their like late 20s, early 30s to transition from like partners to roommates. But after my 2 a.m. search of why does art matter, I also found myself Googling, why does sex matter in a long-term relationship? And I know that this might sound really rich coming from the girl who did peen cuisine, but let me explain. I think I had lost sight of myself after being in a long-term relationship for so long. It was no fault of his or mine. I think that in pursuit of just partnership and cohabitating and having a home together and the day in, day out of sharing a house and taking out the trash, you just kind of lose sight of that. And I was feeling really disconnected in my personal life and my professional life, and I was just kind of adrift. However, these two things happening at the same time were really interesting to me, because all of the advice I was trying to like voraciously consume to try to solve the problem as fast as possible were kind of the same. A lot of the books about like saving your relationship, the relationship advice was basically the same as creative advice. It was basically about spicing things up and keeping the spark alive. And I realized that I had mostly heard about keeping the spark alive in terms of like a romantic relationship, but I wish someone had told me that keeping the spark alive in your like creative life was part of the job description from the get-go. I think we're all used to that adage of like, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And we all know, anyone who's been in it for a couple years or more knows that that's not true. I think you can initially coast off of the like excitement of a new thing for a couple years, but it will wear off after sending your 50th invoice, I think. And once I started thinking about it as like, oh, I know that relationships take work, and so, you know, keeping the spark alive in my creative work, I have to approach it the same way. The ease and joyfulness that I was able to approach my work with in my 20s, it just wasn't coming to me as easily later on in my career. And so I set out on a quest to like I had these two parallel storylines in my life of like, okay, time to get the spark back. And I realized that the answers to my big questions were not on Reddit or YouTube or in my Instagram saved folder, even though I was trying to save all the information. But in those late night Google searches, I was desperately looking to other people the same way that when I first got asked to do this, I went to go look at a bunch of other Creative Mornings talks just to see what was going on. I think we look to other people's stories to see if we're going to be okay, to see if we are going to survive the thing that we are scared of, the thing that we're uncertain about. But one of the themes I want to talk about today is increasing our tolerance for uncertainty, especially if you're around my age. I'm 34, about to turn 35, and there was a very high tolerance that I had for uncertainty in my 20s because there was nothing to lose. Everything felt fresh. And the flip side, I think, to finding success and finding stability as you progress in your career is that there genuinely does feel like there is something to lose, but it also holds you back from trying new things and experimenting and keeping that spark alive. So there are these kind of two opposing forces. And so I decided to go back to the drawing board and think, okay, what do I really enjoy? And when I thought about it, I was like, okay, well, for the last decade or so, I've always experimented with food. I love cooking in my personal life. I have worked on a lot of food projects in my professional life. And only you know what you need. No one can answer the question of what should I make? This is a question that you have to answer. You could get an online coach. You could go to therapy. Someone else could try to tell you what to make, but only you, at the end of the day, will know what you want to do. So I looked through my body of work, and this is also where the benefit comes in of having a body of work. Maybe you've been working for 5 years, 10 years. You can actually visually pull up your entire portfolio and start to piece together a through line. I think sometimes when you're sitting there thinking in the abstract of what are the things that I like, as a visual person, it was really helpful for me to pull up my work and actually start to connect the dots, whether it was these are the colors that I like, these are the topics that seem to pop up in my work, especially self-initiated work. And I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna go to culinary school. And the way that I came to this decision was, for the longest time, I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but my girlfriends and I would say, if you won the lottery, what would you do with the money? And my answer has always been the same. It was always, I would go to culinary school, Julia Child style, and then host fabulous dinner parties for my friends. And I think at this moment, because I was again, grasping for some ideas of where to get my spark, I realized, hey, I don't have to win the lottery to do that. That's actually not that difficult to do. And so I started to put a plan in motion to make it happen. I announced that I was going to go to culinary school in 2 years from that date. So this was 2021. I decided to go in 2023. And that was enough of a timeline for me to, in my mind, I was like, okay, that's enough time to plan. I can set up my business and I can set up my relationship in a way where we can make this smooth transition and everything's going to be fine. It's like I'm taking no risk at all if I just plan enough. This is very 30-year-old brain of me. And there was something really beautiful that happened, though, when I started to, when I announced it, people were excited. I was excited. I started to feel a little bit of that spark coming back. And within a week of announcing it, I get a call from my dad, who was initially very excited about it. He was like, oh, that's really cool. He always calls me his hippie daughter. It's all because I'm a designer. And he goes, hey, have you considered saving the money and just cooking every day for a year? Which is the most Chinese dad thing to say. And I've always wanted to give versions of my talks specifically for an AAPI audience. So if anyone wants that in particular, or it works for any organization, hit me up. And so I laughed because, of course, I hadn't considered it, because I know myself well enough that that was not going to be the way for me to actually do what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to culinary school for me. I didn't even necessarily want to go to be a chef, because I have been sitting from my job for the last 10 years. I wasn't about to start standing. I'm kidding. I would stand for my job. I paint murals. I stand sometimes. It's good to stand once an hour. That's what I've heard. However, I just knew myself well enough. If I was going to cook at home and try to do, there are online culinary schools for much less money. I would dick around for the first 6 months and then go, oh shoot, I have to finish culinary school, and then panic, like power through the curriculum, and it would not be that helpful. And so the most efficient way is not always the most effective way. I think because we live in a hyper-capitalist society, the currents of our society will always push you towards cutting costs and doing it faster. And when it comes to your personal creative projects, whether it's something like going to culinary school or pursuing a dream, or just pursuing a new hobby, something you want to do, or a passion project where you're trying to hone a new skill, try to avoid the efficiency trap. You owe it to yourself to take your time, make it pleasurable. Like, this is, again, we're doing the antithesis of hustle culture when it comes to our passion projects, because these are so precious to us. I once heard someone describe making art as a willful act of inefficiency, and I thought that that was really beautiful. And I think that I try to approach my passion projects that way now, especially in this like second stage of my career, because the first stage of my career, I feel like I was doing passion projects as they were like marketing tools for my portfolio, which made a lot of sense. But sometimes you need passion projects just for you to get the spark back, and they don't always have to have a specific, very expensive. And I wanted to share a story too, because at the same time I was reading a book to try to save my relationship called Mating in Captivity. Has anyone read it? I'm trying to see how many people are over 30. I feel like that's, I feel like that might be a tell. But Esther Perel shared a really powerful anecdote in there where she talks about how she sees so many couples who come into her office and say that they are just like worn down by the routine of their lives. And because we live in such a like pragmatic, like results-driven society, like we try to solve the problem by coming up with some kind of routine or regimen, and so we oftentimes end up scheduling like we're gonna do sex or we're gonna do date night, and those are noble attempts. But what she says is we oftentimes exacerbate the problem that we're trying to remedy and end up like basically doing the meal prep version of romantic stuff, because what we're not just trying to get like a decent average. What we're trying to do is reinvigorate the spark. And so it's not about output in terms of your creative project. It's about reconnecting with why you're making things and feeling good about making things. So once I announced going to culinary school, this really beautiful thing happened where I naturally began to crank out more food-based work on my own. I just self-initiated, started to experiment with, this is puff pastry that I used to make this croissant piece. I know that technically with a French accent this doesn't rhyme, but you'll have to bear with me with my American accent. Process shots to show you it's not AI. And it reminds me of this quote from one of my favorite podcasts. He was talking about, he was reflecting on a poem about pilgrimage, and he said, pilgrimage is never about reaching the place that you're going on pilgrimage to. Pilgrimage happens when you begin, the desire to go. So once you actually make a decision and you say, I'm gonna go in this direction, it actually sets other things in motion in a way that you weren't planning on. And so it's really powerful when you make a decision for yourself of, I wanna make this just because I want to. I also started experimenting with stencils. I have very good fine motor skills. And I was like, I wonder if I can cut out a stencil. And I had bought one of those like Cricut machines to try to do this, and it jammed up. And so I ended up doing this by hand, which, so be it. And we ended up sifting flour over this and lifting it up. It ended up working. And I just want to remind everyone, you probably all know this, but I needed this reminder. I need this reminder about once every 90 days. You are the creative director of your own life. I come from an ad agency background. I work with creative directors now as a freelance, like lettering artist and designer. Oftentimes, it's easy to get handed a brief by someone and just execute it, and like, work is work, that's fine, that's our job. But the power of personal work is that you get to be in the driver's seat, and I think that getting in the habit of doing self-initiated work puts you in the driver's seat of your personal life as well, and reminds you that anything that you want to happen, you technically can make happen, even going to culinary school. You just plan it out in small little chunks. So in 2023, I did go to culinary school. It was lovely. I went to the Institute of Culinary Education here downtown in New York City. I've been a longtime vegetarian, so there were only so many plant-based programs to choose from. Surprise, they're in LA and New York. And so I was here, and immediately when I got here, like I had set up this plan with my former partner. We were like, okay, we're gonna do monthly visits, and like we had set up our life in a way where we're both super independent, and I was ready to make it work. I left all my stuff in Detroit. I was like, cool, see you in a year, everything's gonna be good. I got here and immediately hit the ground running. I was so invigorated and re-energized by just getting to do food stuff for the first month and being in a professional kitchen and spending my time just peeling and chopping and actually learning proper knife skills. Anytime I posted a video online, like chopping stuff before, I would just get flamed in the comments. So don't look at any cooking videos prior to 2023. Ooh, but I ended up really loving the program. It was only a year long, and so a year was the perfect container for me to feel comfortable taking this risk without like blowing up my life. And I want to say that passion projects are really good containers for taking like calculated risk. If you are in a similar position to where I was, where you felt kind of stuck, maybe there was some inertia where you feel like, I don't know what to do next, setting a container in terms of a project, whether it's something small you want to publish, a zine you want to make, a length of time, a certain project, a program you want to take, it's a really great way to try something out without necessarily like making it your whole personality or changing up your entire life. And that's why I like doing passion projects. Highly recommend. For example, this is one example of one passion project. Took me 8 weeks to do. I just signed up for one ceramics class, made this. It is the culmination of all the things I love. It is a baguette serving dish. It's my prized possession. But for anyone who's done ceramics, you know that going from designer, like on screen, to ceramicist is so painful because every step of the firing process, something can go wrong. You are at the whim of the kiln. So during the firing process, this thing fused together because glaze is just glass. And I had to learn how to chisel it open and then Dremel down, like sand down the edges. And it was a whole process, but it was a good exercise in learning how to let go. And I'm still trying to get this made, so if anyone knows how to manufacture ceramic baguette dishes, please hit me up. I do not want to slip cast these. I don't personally want to. I've had a lot of people suggest that. And indulging your creativity often leads to clarity because it shakes up your routine. I think that the day in, day out routine of just running your life oftentimes can be the thing that makes us a little bit complacent or makes us feel like we're losing that spark, even when things are going well. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of consistency, but in my own life, I have found that it runs counter to nurturing that spark, and so I found that I have to artificially inject like a little bit of spontaneity and new stuff in there in order to keep myself excited about my work, because keeping myself engaged in my work is part of my job, especially as someone who is self-employed. And I was in culinary school for a year, and within a couple months, I was able to, like the biggest takeaway that I had from culinary school, cooking skills were good, but having something I was so passionate about in my life after a period of lull and feeling creatively uninspired, having something that creatively lit me up, shone a light on something in my life that was not working as well, and it actually was the impetus for me to finally leave my relationship, which is sad, but also was something that I had been putting off for a really long time. Maybe some people have had experience with that. It is what it is, but I just want to, I share all this to say that if there's something you've been waffling on, if there's maybe a job you've been thinking about leaving, or a client you've been thinking about firing, or a city you've been thinking about like moving to, but you haven't let yourself for whatever reason, I do think that a small step that you can take is just starting to make something that you want to make. It can even just be a small project. It is a a vote of confidence in yourself that, hey, I deserve to make something fun, I am capable of making something cool, and I'm gonna put it out there in the world. It sounds silly when you hear it and you're like, no, I couldn't possibly do that, but it's really powerful, and if you just do that again and again and again, you will ultimately feel connected to yourself and empowered. And I recently heard someone say this on a podcast, and it blew my mind. These two women were talking about how stability is something that we all seemingly crave, but it actually can be a deterrent to happiness because it is something that gets in the way. Because oftentimes we think about instability as something that, oh, that was for my teens and my 20s, I've outgrown that. But we oftentimes cling on to stability at the cost of like keeping ourselves stuck. Like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. I couldn't possibly spend the money. I couldn't possibly move to a new place. And I do think that as someone who made some of that trade, you don't have to blow up your life, but trading some stability or comfort for adventure or your curiosity is a trade worth making, especially if you are around my age or older. I would implore you to add a little bit of this because it really was creatively reinvigorating for me. And when you put yourself out there and you start doing work that you want to get, like the kind of work that you want to do, so after going to culinary school, I started getting commissioned for like food-based illustration work. This is a running shoe that I made out of all potato. This is a snowflake that I made out of powdered sugar. These are baguette nails. I put them on just for this talk. One of them popped off in the car over here, so I had to put it back on. But one of the things I've learned, I knew this before going to culinary school, but as a freelance designer, you have to tell people incessantly about the kind of work that you want before they give it to you. I know it's so annoying. You kind of have to be annoying about it, actually. But if you let people know what you're interested in, the topics outside of design, eventually they'll catch on and think of you when they have those projects for you. And a lot of my career has been very DIY, but do it yourself doesn't mean doing it alone, as evidenced by everyone in this room. I started a podcast when I got back from culinary school called Chaotic Creatives with one of my best friends, Rachel. We talk about the ups and downs of being creative, the good, the bad, the panic preparing for talks like this. And actually, a couple episodes that we recorded were the seeds for me being able to share some of this stuff on stage here, because I think the beginning of being able to talk about things publicly is kind of workshopping stuff with friends. And it's always good to have creative community to people who understand what you're going through, people who can lend an ear. And I'm really grateful to have supportive friends, and I'm glad you all have each other here too. So, moral of the story, build it and they will come is the old adage. This is my 2025 update to this. My projects, the reason I have my career, when Tina posted my project, I know that was still heavily considered Web 2. This is pre-personalized algorithms. And, I yearn for that era, but it's no longer with us. And I think that now in this, kind of anything goes internet especially with AI slop, it is extra important that you make the stuff that you want to make, especially the weird stuff, because you don't know how far it's going to go, how much juice you're going to get out of it. And so at the very least, you need to love it. You need to be able to put it in your portfolio or share it with your friends so they get a laugh out of it, because it's so humiliating otherwise to make something for the algorithm and have it just flop. So yeah, you just need to make sure that you're nurturing your creative spark, because otherwise it's too demoralizing out there. And it doesn't have to be as big as going to culinary school. It can just be taking a small step, making a project that you want to make. We're all creative and figuring out in real time. I think that's why I was so excited to speak here today, because it's not like a top-down conference thing. It's just creatives talking to other creatives, sharing their stories. And when I used to give this talk, or give talks, I would talk about daily dishonesty as a life raft that I didn't know I was going to need when I was unhappy at my advertising job. And Culinary school ended up being a life raft that I didn't know I was going to need, but in a personal way. And it reads as a more professional kind of passion project, but I currently have no plans to put it into professional use, maybe someday, but I host the occasional dinner party. But I kind of like that it was, at the end of the day, it was just for me. And I want to leave you with your creativity is a compass that can help you stay connected and curious and confident in yourself. And please make more of the work that you want to make after this. I hope it inspires you to do that. Thank you for having me.
Let's do it again. That was so lovely. I'm so glad you moved back. We are unfortunately running out of time. We can't do Q&A, but I'm pretty sure that Lauren will answer questions if you come up afterwards. So let's go into the 30-second pitches. If one of your names was called before, come on up here, please. Can someone from my team come down and take notes for the pictures? Like maybe Krista or maybe Brianna, someone? Yes? Cool.
Okay, right. Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah Young, and I teach the Alexander Technique. My practice teaches you how to get out of your own way, stop living life on automatic, and better direct yourself in your activities. So if you haven't yet reached your full potential, then this work is for you. If you struggle to deliver results when you need to, know where you want to go but not how to get there, have pain that won't go away, want more energy, want to change a behavior, significantly improve the skills you already have, or even just move more freely, let's talk. Hello, everyone. My name's Morgan First, and I work with artists to make fun wine information and education. I had an amazing space called Rose Mansion where you could swing from a giant chandelier. I wrote a wine book called Rebel School of Wine that's filled with 450 illustrations. But most recently, someone wrote a nasty review about my book because she said it was too illustrated. I feel like this audience would disagree. So I created a wine sticker book. I worked with 25 different artists. Lauren is one of the artists. You can follow me at Morgan1ST to find more about the sticker book. Yay!
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I did basically what Lauren said. I just followed a dream, took a risk, and just moved to New York. So I'm looking for friends. I'm a muralist as well. I'm a visual note taker, an illustrator. So please come talk to me after this and show me all the cool things that you love to do, like dancing in New York and other fun creative things. Thank you.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Jill Greenbaum, and I don't want to forget a detail. So the news is this. I have an invitation for you. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., I will be offering a workshop in nature-based art. It's called Alchemizing Nature, Art, and Creativity. It's through a fabulous site called griefmatters.ca, and they have all kinds of resources that are there for working with your grief. We'll be focusing on a question that's near to our hearts, a death or a non-death loss. And I'm also the host of the Open Door Death Cafe. Hope to see you there. Ask me if you have questions.
Thank you all so much. Gentlemen, put in your names into the 30-second pitches. Brave ladies. All right, before I let you all go, I want to say thank you to our wonderful volunteer team. Without them, these events would not be as smooth as they are. So thank you, Abby, Alicia, Angelica, Anushka, Brian, Brianna, Exa, Finn, Jordan, Kevin, Kirsten, Krista, Kristen, Lena, Lenny, Maria, Mary, Meredith, Oriana, Cece, Sky, and Whitney. And then thanks to Nelson, who takes photos of us. You can see how good you look in the morning. And thanks to Connie, we can all watch this again. Hire them all. They're the most reliable people, including Matthew. Thanks to Matthew, you have a live stream. We see you, Matthew. And then Autumn, thank you so much. And now, are you ready for this? Next month is our birthday. And we're going to be 17. We're a full-fledged teenager. And you know who's going to be speaking? Are you ready? Roxane Gay. We're going to be back at L'Alliance. And I want to leave you with a quote, as always. This one is by Rainbow Rowell. So what if instead of thinking about solving your whole life, you just think about adding additional good things, one at a time? Just let your pile of good things grow. Thank you for being here today. We'll see you next month. And go to a club, please.